What if I told you that half of all animal species on Earth could vanish within the next few decades, and we might not even notice it happening? Not all at once, not with earthquakes or roaring skies, but silently. In forests growing still, in oceans turning empty, in pollinators disappearing from our fields, one quiet death at a time. Every time a species goes extinct, it's not just a loss of beauty. It's a missing thread in the web that holds us all together. What happens when too many threads are gone? When ecosystems begin to fail, not with drama, but with a sigh. Food, water, breathable air, all depend on them. And yet, we act like we don't. This is not science fiction, it's science. And the clock is already ticking. Hit like, subscribe, and let's go. Right now, the world feels stable, at least on the surface. We still wake up to birdsong in the morning. Supermarket shelves are full. Bees buzz over flowers in spring, and the ocean still sparkles under the sun. It's easy to believe everything is fine, that nature, in all its complexity, is managing just like it always has. But beneath that thin layer of normalcy, something is shifting, quietly, relentlessly. Today, scientists estimate that Earth holds over 8 million species of animals, yet nearly 1 million of them are already on the brink of extinction. Not just rare or exotic creatures, but vital species, the ones that pollinate our crops, clean our water, maintain balance in the soil and seas. The global biodiversity crisis isn't a distant future, it's happening now. Accelerated by deforestation, climate change, pollution, and industrial agriculture, entire ecosystems are beginning to unravel. But here's the problem. Most of us can't see it. We live disconnected from the natural systems that support us. Technology has made life more comfortable, but also more blind. Cities grow as forests shrink. Farms expand as insects vanish. And somewhere along the way, we forgot that we're not above the system, we're inside it. And if half of the species that keep that system alive disappear, what happens next? Not just to the animals, but to us. This story isn't about saving wildlife. It's about understanding what we stand to lose, and whether we're already too late to stop it. The warning signs began quietly, decades ago. In the 1960s, biologists first noticed something strange: the sudden decline of frogs and amphibians in places untouched by urban life. At first, it seemed like isolated events, local, explainable. But by the 1980s, patterns began to emerge. Insects, birds, fish, all showing declines. By the early 2000s, the term sixth mass extinction started appearing in scientific journals. Not a metaphor, a measurable, data-driven reality. Unlike the asteroid that wiped out the dinosaurs, this one wasn't falling from the sky. It was growing from the ground, fed by chainsaws, smoke, and silence. The Intergovernmental Science Policy Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services, IPS, released a report in 2019 that shocked even the experts. Over 1 million species are now at risk of extinction, many within just a few decades. But here's the part that few truly understand. These losses aren't just emotional or symbolic. They're functional. Each species that disappears breaks a piece of the machinery that keeps ecosystems running. And ecosystems don't crash like planes, they fail like power grids. First a flicker, then darkness. Some researchers now call it a biological tipping point, a moment when too many species vanish, and the system collapses on itself. It's not just animals that vanish. It's food production, medicine, climate stability, clean air, fresh water. The question is no longer if this will happen, but when. And more importantly, whether anyone will be listening when the last warning bell sounds. Imagine this. 1 in every 3 bites of food you eat depends on pollinators, bees, butterflies, even bats. And yet, global bee populations have dropped by over 40% in just the past few decades. Entire colonies collapse without warning. Fields of crops bloom, but no one comes to pollinate. In Germany, insect biomass fell by 76% in protected reserves. Not cities, not highways, reserves. Silent meadows. No buzzing, no fluttering wings, just absence. And the chain reaction begins. Fewer insects mean fewer birds. Fewer birds mean exploding pest populations. Crops suffer. Forests change. Wetlands dry. In the oceans, it's no different. Coral reefs, home to 25% of marine life, are bleaching faster than ever recorded. Entire marine food chains are unraveling as plankton populations decline. Without plankton, there's no oxygen, because 50% of the air we breathe comes from the sea. This is not a story about rare species in faraway jungles. This is about wheat, apples, water, medicine, stability. It's about waking up to an empty sky or a field that never grows back. And the danger isn't coming. It's already here, creeping under our radar, hidden in numbers, in quiet forests and shallow seas. We are not witnessing nature's death. We are witnessing its silence. Its fading heartbeat. And if we don't ask why now, will we even notice when the last breath is taken? Here's something most people don't know. Extinction isn't instant. Species don't vanish overnight. They enter a phase scientists call functional extinction. That means the species is still there, technically, but not in numbers large enough to play its role in the ecosystem. It's already too late, even if we can still see it. The bees that no longer pollinate, the fish that can no longer reproduce, the birds that no longer migrate. They're ghosts, moving through a system that has already started to fall apart. And here's the twist. We often don't even know a species is functionally extinct until the consequences hit us. Until the crops fail. Until the pests spread. Until the water stops being clean. And then, we look back and realize what we lost. Scientists have a term for this delay: extinction debt. A terrifying idea. It means we're already in debt for species that haven't vanished yet, but will, because of damage we've already done. Even if we stop everything today, the collapse might still come. Some ecosystems are like glass. Once cracked, they don't break immediately, but they will. It's not a question of if. It's about when, and how loudly we'll hear it when it finally shatters. So the real danger isn't what's gone. It's what's going, silently, unnoticed. Right now. What if the worst part isn't that we didn't act? What if it's that we didn't even realize we were supposed to? In recent years, scientists have begun to map extinction like never before. Using satellite imaging, machine learning, and global biodiversity databases, they can now detect even subtle shifts in ecosystems long before the collapse becomes visible to the human eye. With AI-powered algorithms, researchers are tracking pollinator flight paths, analyzing soil microbiomes, and monitoring the sounds of dying forests. Yes, forests have soundscapes, and when key species vanish, the silence is measurable. In places like Costa Rica and Madagascar, bioacoustic sensors record night after night of vanishing life, a slow fade-out of an orchestra once full of life. And yet, even with this technology, the trend is clear. We're losing species faster than we can understand them. Thousands go extinct before we even discover their names. In labs across the world, synthetic biology teams are racing to store DNA samples, creating so-called frozen zoos, backups of animals we might never see again. Others are exploring gene editing, trying to make species more resilient to heat, drought, or disease. But even with these advances, one haunting truth remains: we cannot engineer a functioning planet. We can't program pollination. We can't replace the elegance of a web built over millions of years. Technology can help us see what's happening, but it can't save what we refuse to protect. So the question isn't just what science can do. It's whether we'll listen to what it's already telling us. Some say it's the price of progress. That losing species is unfortunate, but inevitable. That humanity must feed itself, build, expand. Forests cleared for agriculture. Wetlands drained for housing. Pesticides sprayed to protect food. Every decision, rational, calculated, profitable. But what if the system we call progress was never sustainable to begin with? What if the very foundation of modern civilization, mass production, global trade, industrial farming, was quietly trading away life for convenience? Some scientists argue we've already crossed key planetary boundaries, that we're now in a state shift, moving toward a new Earth, hotter, emptier, less stable. Others suggest the problem isn't just ecological, it's philosophical. A broken relationship with nature. We see ourselves as separate, above, in control, but we are not. And then there's the darker view, that certain governments and corporations know this collapse is coming and are preparing not to stop it, but to survive it. Hoarding genetic data, investing in vertical farms, seed vaults, synthetic meat. preparing for a future where nature is no longer trusted, only managed. Two paths emerge, one where we change course, radically, uncomfortably, and one where we adapt, by building a world where life is artificial, controlled, and heartbreakingly quiet. But whichever future awaits us, one thing is certain: nothing comes without cost. So the question isn't whether we can afford to protect the natural world. It's whether we can survive without it. It began subtly. Yields dropped, first in regions already vulnerable. Then in developed nations. Crops failed not from drought, but from absence. No pollinators, no fertile soil. Supermarkets adjusted quietly, fewer fruits, higher prices, supply delays. Then came the waves of migration, not from war, but from failed ecosystems. Fishermen abandoned oceans that gave them nothing. Farmers left lands that no longer breathed. The chain broke. Food systems collapsed in places that once fed millions. Governments raced to respond. Vertical farms, lab-grown food, algae protein. But everything cost more in energy, in infrastructure, in trust. Cities adapted. Rural regions died. And then came the health crisis. New diseases emerged, unchecked by natural predators. Old ones returned as habitats collapsed and species mixed unnaturally. The world began to feel unstable. Not in one big moment, but in thousands of small ones. And perhaps the most haunting shift? The silence. The world grew quieter. Fewer birds, fewer frogs, fewer signs of wildlife. And with them, fewer reminders of what we once were. Scientists tried to warn us. Activists screamed. But now, people watch with numb eyes, surviving in a world that no longer sang. We had passed a line, not just ecological, but psychological. Humanity had become the dominant force on a broken planet. And in that silence, a new kind of creature began to emerge. Engineered life, designed to replace what we lost, crops that didn't need bees, air filters instead of forests, synthetic systems to mimic natural ones. But these creations had no soul, no song. Just function. Just survival. So we must ask ourselves now, was this future built by evolution or by desperation? At the heart of all this lies a single question. What kind of world do we want to live in? A world engineered for survival, stripped of wonder, or one where life thrives not because we control it, but because we respect it? The truth is, humanity has become too powerful to be innocent. Every choice we make now shapes the future of life itself. We can continue down the path of substitution, creating synthetic solutions to replace what we've lost. Artificial pollinators, climate-controlled farms, genetically sculpted ecosystems, a sterile earth that functions, but no longer breathes. Or we can choose restoration, a slower, harder path, one that requires sacrifice, letting forests grow instead of mines, protecting species not for their utility, but their right to exist. We're learning how to live with the wild, not above it. Scientists say we still have a window, small, closing fast, where we can stop the cascade. But we have to act before the last thread snaps. Before nature becomes just a memory stored in a server. This isn't just about animals. It's about our identity, our future, and whether we believe that intelligence is meant to dominate or to understand. One choice leads to control, the other to connection. So what do we choose? To evolve or to forget what made us human in the first place? Remember how we started? What if half of all animal species disappeared and we didn't even notice? Now, maybe you see, we already are. Not in one big, loud collapse, but in a soft, fading silence. And here's what scares me most. It's not that the world is changing. It's that we might be changing with it. Getting used to the silence. Accepting emptiness. Calling it progress. When was the last time you heard frogs at night? Or saw a sky full of insects under a streetlight? Maybe you didn't even notice they were gone. And maybe that's the real danger, not extinction, but forgetfulness. Because once we forget what wild felt like, what beauty really meant, we stop missing it. And when we stop missing it, we stop fighting for it. This story isn't just about science. It's about memory. About whether we want the future to feel alive or just efficient. So now I want to ask you something, not as a narrator, but as a human like you. When your children ask what the world used to sound like, what will you say? Will you tell them about the birds, the whales, the bees? Or will you say nothing at all because you didn't notice they were gone? Let me know in the comments honestly, because this story isn't over. It's just beginning. And maybe you're part of how it ends.